Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alan Spaeth. I'm part of the North America SWAT team for Information Server. And today I want to talk and show you a little bit about, basically extract a subset of data from a production instance of Salesforce.com and populate that subset down to an environment like test or dev. The most important aspect of it is that you need to maintain the integrity or relationships of the data. So if you extract 10 account records, for example, you want to make sure that the respective child objects have relationships to the parent. So we want to make sure that we're keeping the relationships of the data subset. So that's exactly what this does. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and created a few processes that do each individual steps that we're looking at. In this particular case, we're going to work with accounts and 4 of their child objects. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to jump right into the coordination piece of it, because this is where everything gets managed at execution time. So what this is, DataStage provides a sequencer interface that enables you to coordinate both processes created for DataStage for ETL, extract, transform, and load processes, as well as external processes. So you can coordinate a wide variety of things through here, including features such as notification via email, etc. What this particular thing does for you is it will load the parent table or object, if you will, account. So it's going to go ahead and process the accounts from the subset from the production environment and populate it into the target, whether it's dev, test, or even another full instance of Salesforce. The next thing is this downstream object is waiting for the account object to complete. When it's done, then it will simultaneously execute the load sequence for the respective child objects down below. Another thing that I'd like to point out while I'm here is that a lot of folks want to be able to take advantage of checkpoint restart. So what that means is that I can check a couple properties here, and once I've done so, the sequencer will automatically, upon a restart, will recover from a given location. So what that means is that, for example, if the account load completed and the opportunities load completed, but the other 3 hadn't, on restart recovery, it'll skip those 2 that were completed and pick up and run the other 3. So that's very useful for the ops folks. They definitely like it, and it enables you to not have to reload a bunch of data that is already loaded. So let's take a quick look at top down here. So the first process that occurs is the accounts. Now this is a really simple flow. There's no transformation. It's what comes in goes out, except one thing. When I put this together, I always put together a error handling link on it, and it turns out that some of the data that I have actually has a problem and didn't load. And what it was is that the account records, there are some that didn't have a external ID. Not quite sure how they got in there, but that's true for our test environment. So let me do this. I'm going to go back to the job sequencer, and I'm just going to go ahead and run it. A couple things to note. Again, I'd mentioned some best practices and reuse around job parameters. If I wanted to change what I was writing to, so for example, maybe I'm going to load my test environment, and then I want to go ahead and go back and load some data in my dev environment. All I need to do is change these parameters, and it'll go ahead and pass that down to all the other load jobs and take care of it for you. So this is the only place you touch it. For the most part, though, if I'm just simply reusing, I've included my constraint here. Now my constraint is a very simple one. I'm going against the create date of a given account record. And the constraint is literally where the create date is greater than this, whatever I put in. So you could make it anything you want. You could extract based upon region or state or country or whatever it happens to be. But this is what I chose to do subsetting on. I'm going to go ahead and let this run. You'll see it running down below in the event log, so you can kind of see how that's going while I'm pointing out some other stuff. So going back to the accounts. Once the account job is finished, I'll actually show you the errors that occur there. So if we go take a look at the stage or connector for Salesforce, they're all the same. You can see that I've used parameters to populate the user ID password, and there's also a constraint within the query itself. I'm using job parameters, and that's what they are. This is the exact same set of job parameters that will be used in every single job across the board. Okay, so we can see down here that the account has actually finished under job control. That's the sequencer. I'm now going to go ahead and take a look at any of the rejected data, should there be any. So let's go ahead and bring this up. As a developer or operator, I want to know if I have any exceptions when I load the data. Now, this is data that did not get loaded into Salesforce. You can see that I have all of the values of the respective columns that I've brought across, or fields. What I'm really interested in, though, is why did it fail? And I'm going to go ahead and back up just a little bit. Okay, so right here we can see that the external ID was not specified. So I need to back up just a little more. And we can see on the upper left up here, the external ID indeed was null, which is the cause of our load failure. This is really powerful because you can determine right away what the actual error is at the time that it occurs. And you would have the opportunity to be alerted in the event that something does occur as it pertains to rejects or other failures. Jumping over right now to the child jobs, these again look exactly the same. The only difference is what we're capturing for data on the source and populating it to the target. There's really not a whole lot here. They all look the same. What does this do? In this particular case, we're reading the rows out of the contract object. We're capturing two other columns or fields that are tied to the parent, which is the account. Those two are the external ID of the account record and the create date. This next step here is a lookup stage, and it's looking up using the external key that's part of the account record to return back the newly generated Salesforce ID from what we just populated with the account job. Okay, the next question is, what's it take to add another child object? Say we wanted to add a maybe tasks or something else. Well, what I do is I've gone ahead and created some templates to make it really easy to replicate and create new object jobs. So I'm going to create a job from a template that I've created. These templates are basically filled out and ready to go. And I'm going to call this one contacts, contacts 2. I already have contacts. And it's created. Boom. All right. So what I've included in this is the documentation that you need to go through to finish it out. So the first step here, it says add child fields and constraint. So the constraint is what we're going to constrain the query to ensure that we have the same records that the parent had. Remember, we're going after the create date. All right, so now I'm in that source connector, the Salesforce source, and you can see that I've already populated via parameters the template. So you don't have to do anything. All you need to do is come in and browse the object. This is going out to Salesforce now based upon our connection properties that are populated. And it's going to bring back the metadata browser so we can pick and choose the objects that we're interested in. I'm going to again go back after contacts because I'm familiar with it. And I'm just opening up all the fields that are under contact. Note that there's something in here called contact or account ID. This is the parent account record. So I'm interested in not the whole records, but only two things. The create date, that's going to be used for my constraint, and the external ID. That's it. Once I'm done with selecting those two columns, the rest of these are just the ones that I want to carry forward and populate to my target instance. All right, good enough. I don't need to do any more to get the idea. And then if you look, the next step, part of the first step, is the constraint. I've gone ahead and I've added within the documentation piece here, or the description field, the constraint piece that we need to put in. So I'm just cutting and pasting. It's right there for you. You don't have to do anything. I'm going to go ahead and open up the query that was generated for us and add the constraint. That's all I have to do for step 1. Step 2, map the child fields that we just created to the target. And this is through the lookup. So let's go ahead and see what this looks like. So you see the production record is the same as the production record link. Those are the links. So that's what's coming in, and then we have the lookup account. The lookup account, you don't have to touch this because it's been pre-populated. If there was a problem, it would be highlighted red. For our requirements, all we need to do is highlight the contact fields that we want to carry across. We want to leave the account ones there. We don't need them. What you'll see is that the ID field coming back from the lookup is the ID for the account ID that's being populated in the contacts. That's how we're building our relationship. At this point in time, we're done. It's ready to rock and roll. So the next question is how do we add it to the sequence? Now you'll see it back over on the left-hand side. That's the one we just created. You simply drag it and drop it and connect it with the sequencer. At this point in time now, when we run this, the account will be populated and then all 5 of these will be loaded, if you could imagine this one being tasks, for example. So that's it in a nutshell. Hopefully it was useful, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.